Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm your host for tonight, Gwen Richardson, and my co-host, Dr. Rhonda Lawson, is just getting back from Antigua, so I'm not sure she's going to be on tonight, but if not, we will see her a couple of weeks from now. So I have a couple of housekeeping notes. We will not have a show next week because of the Memorial Day holiday, so this will be the first break we've had this year since we started. We have not missed a Tuesday. Secondly, if you weren't able to participate in last week's award show for the Black Authors Matter TV Awards, it was an amazing night, and the winners were so excited and gratified by winning, by the support of their fans and family and everything. So if you didn't get a chance to watch it, it's on the same Facebook page where you're watching this under Reels. They used to call it videos, but now it's called Reels, Reels. And you can watch the show in its entirety or certain parts or whatever. And for the National Black Book Festival, the standard registration ends May 31st. So it ends. We will not have another show before it ends. Our next show is June 2nd. So we're at 82% capacity. So if you want to participate and sign up as a registered author or publisher or small business, then I'm not sure when exactly we'll sell out, but it will be soon, probably within the next month. So anyway, we have a great, amazing lineup again tonight, like we always do. And our first guest has a debut novel, but she's an actress and she has a lot of shows to her credit. And her name is K.M. Colley. I also wanted to mention we're going to be giving away 2 books. So one of them is her new book, The Roaring Ridleys, and we give away our books based on trivia questions. So I will ask the trivia question toward the end of the show. But welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Oh, yeah, unmute.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for being a guest on the show, and congratulations on your book, The Roaring Ridleys, and also your acting career. Now, you have been on several shows. One of them is Queen Sugar, and I watched Queen Sugar almost the whole thing. So, which character were you on there?
My character was Blaze. It was like the very last season when Micah was going to New York and he wanted to see if he was going to be an artist, and he was going through the whole thing with the Bitcoin and all that things with the crypto thing that he was doing with his family. So I was like shining light for him. Like, there's other avenues of your art. You know, you don't have to do it the bad way.
Okay, now you would be on I didn't see the last season.
Yeah, I'm on the very last season.
All the beginning from the first episode, but I didn't see the last season.
Yep, you'll catch me on the last season.
Because when your face came on, I was like, okay, I don't recognize her.
Yeah, I have a little buzz cut, a little bit different. I have a little buzz cut.
So now you've also been on done some other acting. So tell us about your other acting roles.
Yes, I've been on Atlanta by Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino. This is America. And I've also been on another show. It's called The Other Black Girl. Some of you may know. It's an amazing book by Zakiya Delai Harris, another fellow Black.
That was on Hulu. Was it on Hulu?
It was on Hulu. It was on Hulu. And funny or not funny, very funny. I actually was the person that designed the book covers on the show. So it felt like a funny parallel reality as an author. I was the person that created the cover for a fellow author's book in the TV show. So it was cool.
Okay, now did that was a series?
It was a mini series. It was only around for one season.
Oh, okay, because I
Yeah.
didn't hear anything more about it after that first
Yeah,
season.
it was a one season, one
Okay,
season.
so
Yeah.
similar to the other Hulu show, but Kindred.
Kindred, yes,
Kindred.
Kindred, yes.
Mhm.
That was a phenomenal show.
It
Phenomenal.
was, and
Yeah.
I was sad they didn't continue it. So
Ah,
my co-host is tuning in. She's well rested, I'm thinking, or maybe not, because she went to Antigua and it didn't seem like she was doing a lot of resting from the pictures
oh.
that I saw.
Wow.
But
It's
welcome back from your trip.
well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So
Sounds so
our first
exciting.
guest is an actress. She has a book, but she was also an actress. She was on Queen Sugar, and
Oh, I know Queen Sugar for a
yeah,
couple of pivotal episodes.
yeah. See,
Okay.
I saw the whole thing, but I didn't see the last season, and that's
Yes.
the one she was in.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just background, so you wouldn't have seen me.
Okay, listen, it's
Oh,
all
you're
the moving
saying you were in
parts.
it. You were saying you were in it. I thought you were saying you were watching it.
No,
Were you an
I
extra?
was, yeah, when I first retired from the army, I was doing background work, and Queen Sugar was one of the shows I did background on.
It's a great set to be a part of, especially New
It
Orleans.
is.
Oh, it's so
Yes,
lively, so lively.
Oh,
it is.
and
We
that's
had fun.
Rhonda's home, so that was right up your alley. So
Yeah.
would I have seen you, um, Rhonda,
You
on any of the
You
episodes?
would have to have really been looking.
Okay.
I mean, I played a waitress on one part, and you could clearly see my face. There were a couple of other episodes. Remember when Hollywood went to the class reunion?
Mm-mm. But
Um,
I remember
yeah,
Hollywood. I remember him.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
When Hollywood went to the class reunion,
Okay.
I was one of the extras at the class reunion. So maybe
Okay.
if you look really, really well
L-
and a little
Listen, I started off as background in New Orleans. My mama
bit.
would drive me from Mobile, Alabama to New Orleans for 5 seconds to be a background actress. So, yes.
And swore you were doing something, huh?
Yeah, I swear I was. I was getting out
You
of
were
school early and everything.
were you hoping they wouldn't edit out that part? You know,
Yeah,
sometimes on the editing floor the stuff gets cut. And
they do. They do.
so, what made you? How did you get into acting? Did
Well,
you go to school for acting, or?
listen, being from Mobile, Alabama, there is no acting. That's not even a thought or a career. But I was raised by my grandmother predominantly. My mom had me really young. So when I was watching TV shows like The Twilight Zone and old Turner Classic movies with my grandma, I was like, Granny, I want to be like the people on the TV screen. So my family, they would just do what they can and like put me in the little modeling class and the acting classes. My aunt would send me to Duke University for the summer camp. They had acting and writing camps, and I would do
Nice.
that. So that's how I started off. And then I became married. I was a military spouse, divorced. And when I get a divorce, you get a second wind of life. So I was like, I'm going to be an actress. So I went and got classes right in the middle of COVID. I was doing virtual Zooms and classes in New York and LA. I
Oh,
trained as hard as I could. And it took
okay.
about a year and a half for me to book my very first TV show after Sirius really, really going for it.
That's really, really
Yeah.
great. Now I can also now I've been married twice. I will co-sign. When you
Hmm.
get a divorce, you do get a new lease on life. It's like,
New
okay,
lease on life.
I need
Yes.
to change the things that got me. I need to change my hair, change my career.
Yes.
I need
Got
to,
to go through the red hair phase once, at least once. Got to get the red wig one time.
I didn't do a wig. I cut my hair. Like just,
Oh,
I said, let me start over. Because whatever I was on or feeling or doing,
yeah.
whatever was attracting that kind of
Mhm.
person to me, let me
Yeah.
cleanse it.
Exactly.
So
I
I
didn't
want
have
to
time
check
to
them
do.
anymore like
I
that.
didn't have time to do that kind of change because I apply I turned the paperwork in for my divorce 2 days before I left for Afghanistan. So I was in a uniform
You
Oh,
was ready to
of
go.
the desert.
oh.
Yeah,
Well, that was a change. That
That was a change, all
was
right.
a
that
dramatic
was definitely a change.
change. So, but that's great that you pursued it even during COVID. A lot of books were written during COVID, but you're
A
the
lot
Yeah.
of.
first person that's talked about acting and learned,
I
picking.
was doing both. Actually, I started writing, but I couldn't. I was through that gap where I was putting so much time and effort in my acting career. I could just never finish the first draft in that first part of COVID. But eventually I, pushed through and went for it.
Oh, that's really great. So,
Yeah.
your book, The Roaring Ridleys, and
Hmm.
we have trivia for the book for tonight. We're
Okay.
going to do at the end,
Okay.
but now this is your debut with
Yes.
a publisher. Did you self-publish anything before that?
I did not self-publish. I did not
Okay.
self-publish. This was the first novel where I was like, you know what, we're gonna see where it goes, and if it doesn't, I'm gonna make sure it get published one way or another. Because I know I'm lots of talented, amazing self-published authors that I was
Mm.
like, it doesn't matter as long as the book gets out there. But I had that one person that believed in me and said yes, and that was it.
Yeah, there are a lot of people really making bank writing full time as self-published authors.
Exactly. Hmm.
And that's something I would say that's a change that's happened like in the last, I don't know if it's in the whole decade.
I think
It
so.
used
I'm
to,
glad a
yeah,
part of the latter of the decade, especially when TikTok, you see a lot of these amazing self-published authors, and then they
yeah,
get the books re-released through traditional publish.
right,
Uh, so
right.
it's
Mhm.
amazing to see the transition and seeing like the traditional community welcome self-published books because they're just as valid.
Yeah, it
It's
used to be the self-published person was kind of like, um, it was more of a calling. It was
Yeah.
more of a mission than it was for a
Yeah.
career.
well,
Yeah.
let's be real. When self-publishing first started,
Mm,
it wasn't a badge of honor. People were
exactly.
looking at self-published authors as, oh, you weren't good enough to be published by a
A
major
public.
publisher.
Right,
Hmm.
And
right.
unfortunately, some of the books that were self-published, you could tell that it was done themselves. But um, people have started learning more and more about the industry, and technology has gotten better.
Yeah.
And there are some wonderful self-published books out there that can stand
Amazing.
up against a traditionally published book. And the
Uh-huh.
fact that more publishers are looking at
The
um,
self.
self-published books is a good
Mhm.
thing because it shows that that author knows how to sell a book. They've
Mhm.
they've already
They got to do everything on their own. Market the
yes,
book. They have to do, they're their own ship and they have to keep it running. And I think
exactly.
that speaks light years on, character and work ethic for sure.
Mhm. So, what gave you the idea for the Roaring Ridleys? This is a family saga, correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
What's it
So it's
about?
a It's definitely there's definitely could be some prequels in the work and maybe some sequels, for sure sequels, because this book focused on the sisters. Originally, it was all the siblings. Each sibling had their own chapter, but there's seven siblings, and that's really hard to go through each of those siblings like mindset and point of view. So I didn't want to like thin it out too much where it's like, okay, let's get to know these characters and then leave some more room for a later book for the brothers. But yeah, the idea came when I was 14, 15. I would go to Duke University. My aunt would get me from Alabama, and we would drive down to North Carolina, and they would get me in summer camps. And during that summer camp, I would have roommates from around the world, Hong Kong, India, Venezuela, Paris. I still have friends with a lot of them today. London, and I was like, gosh, it would be so amazing if there was like a book because we felt like family at the time. I was like, it would be amazing if there was a book like that that represents so many different cultures. Like I was introducing them to or like Debbie cakes, oatmeal cream pies. I would give my grandma and then when my aunt would go get the Debbie cakes so they can take it back to Paris and Hong Kong and I'm getting them on all the good stuff. So I wanted something that felt like a family, and I was a huge fan of The Great Gatsby. But
Yeah.
when I watched the, obviously the remake that came out with Leonardo DiCaprio, I was like, they got our music, but there's nobody like me or us that's like represented in the movie. So I wanted to really hone in on the Harlem Renaissance, get people like there's so much of the 1920s, especially in the Harlem Renaissance, that nobody talks about, nobody knows. I had to do book reports on Madam C.J. Walker when I was, younger, and I didn't know that Layla Walker was a huge part of the Harlem Renaissance. So that was just a fun thing. I love history. So going back, especially during the Harlem Renaissance and Black history, and combining these worlds that people only saw the glamorous roaring 20s as people that were only white. I was like, no, we're going to bring everybody in this and let everybody have a chance to shine in this.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. I mean, anybody who has the opportunity to take a Harlem Renaissance class, do it. I'm
Yes.
never going to forget taking a Harlem Renaissance class when I was in college. And you're so right that there's so much more to that movement that a lot of people don't realize.
I have no clue.
They think Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston, but there were so many other players who may not have the name recognition that Langston had, that Zora had, but they
Exactly.
gave just as big a contribution and even bigger. And then that's just the written part of it. You have to
Yeah.
also look at the art, look at
Yes.
the music.
The
There was
fashion, that's why I add in Anne Lowe, for
yes.
example. I was really big on adding Anne Lowe because when I found out about the whole thing about the Kennedy dress and how the Kennedys were really like happy with her wedding dress, and I'm like, Anne Lowe deserves to be recognized. She did a lot of work in the fashion, world. So
Mm,
yeah, no, I'm glad I was able to like at least introduce some people to that era. So hopefully
yes.
they'll be inclined to learn even more since it's still historical fiction.
Yeah, there's several people who've written books recently about historical fiction pieces
Mhm.
about Harlem Renaissance. Rashonda Tate has a new one,
Yeah.
was Left from Harlem, and then Victoria had Harlem Rhapsody. And the Anne Lowe, is her name. She wrote a book about Anne Lowe that came out
Oh,
about 3 years ago. I can't call
okay.
her name right now, but she
Yeah.
Piper Hughley.
Piper. Okay. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I remember Piper.
Yeah, she
Mhm.
did a book about her. So there are a few people, and then Alelia Bundles wrote the book about Alelia Walker. It
Yes.
came out last year, I think it was,
Yeah.
and she was on the show earlier this year talking
Yeah.
about, or the end of last year. So there's some, but there's one thing about when history is depicted, a lot of times different eras, it's like we we don't exist
We don't
during the
exist. They don't want to show
Mhm.
us at all.
and one show that does a good job of mixing the two from a historical perspective is an HBO show called The Gilded Age. Have either of you all
Yes,
watched
I
that?
love that show.
Watched it yet, but I wanted to.
You
It's
should watch
great.
it.
It's
Yeah.
a
It's
definitely
really
great. Well, it's a definitely a recommended watch.
What
Yeah.
it's
network is it?
HBO.
it's HBO.
Okay, I have
Hmm.
HBO. I have all those. I'm one of the few people who still has cable, so
Well,
Yes.
I have the on the smart TV. I have
yeah.
Max on
Hmm.
there, and I think I have the cheapest
Yeah, they
version
change.
that
I
has
think they call it
commercials.
Max now. They don't even
Yeah,
call it
Yeah,
HBO
they
no
don't even
more.
call it HBO Max anymore.
Yeah,
no,
it's just
but I think
Max.
it's only $6.99 if you do commercials, and they only do a commercial at the very beginning. They
And I
don't
don't
break
mind
it
the
up.
commercials. I really
Me
don't.
either. The commercials
We need
don't
a
bother
break.
me. They're
Yeah, at
short,
least you can run and get something to eat or go
right?
and use the
Exactly.
restroom
Go to
without
the
missing
bathroom.
anything.
Yeah.
Or have room to talk about it with the family member, like, oh, what did you think
Yeah.
about this part? Instead of trying to pause it and then say
Right.
something.
Or the
I
people
feel
who
like
interrupt what's going on because they want to talk about it and then you miss the next point.
exactly, exactly. Commercials were invented for a reason.
They do.
It's a
They're
small
helpful.
intermission.
They're helpful. And if I'm reading a book, a lot of times during the commercials, I'll read a couple of pages during the commercial break.
Yeah.
So
That's
I'll do
true.
that.
Well,
So
sometimes I like to exercise with it. So what I'll do
mhm,
is maybe
yeah, I've done
run in
that.
place until the commercials end. And then
Hmm.
I've done that or do my weights, my
yeah.
my arm weights. I do that while doing the commercial break. So
Okay, yeah, that's a good
you
one.
have to stay in shape. You know,
There
Uh-huh.
you go.
yeah, you're just getting started. So
Yeah. Yo,
you know,
I had a hard time getting up. My ankles started cracking a little bit today. I was like,
uh,
Lord, I hit 30 and the ankles are starting to crack.
well, it's downhill from there.
Downhill from there,
No,
Lord.
you have to be more aware
Yeah.
that your body can stiffen
It's
up
a
on
little bit more
you.
recovery
You
time.
don't keep moving, it will. You have to keep moving to keep moving. That's what will happen
Yeah.
as you progress in life. If you don't
Yeah.
keep moving, you might not be able to move. That's
Oh, that's for
that's
sure.
what will happen. So, and you get little, aches and things that never happened before. Eating healthy though is a key to it. You
Yeah.
have to eat healthy.
Eat what you eat.
Eat
Yes. The
green.
fuel. Your
Eat
fuel.
green, something green, natural stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Every single day.
Fiber. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need that. Tell us about the storyline for the book. This oh not don't give away any spoilers, just
No
the
spoiler.
overall storyline for the Roaring Blue.
Yes.
And then
So,
we're gonna do the trivia question.
okay, yeah, it's about seven adopted siblings from around the world. They get adopted into a like one of the most wealthiest family in New York City in the 1920s. And one of them, well, actually, all of them have major secrets, but one of them actually has murdered one of the gossip columnists that has hold all their secrets. So it's up to the reader to figure out which sibling is the murderer.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So it's set in New York.
1920s New York.
Okay, and so these siblings are all adopted.
They're all
Uh,
adopted. They're all
okay,
adopted. They all get adopted in their own little special way.
okay.
These people that adopt are philanthropists. They're trying to be the trendsetters because this is not something. This is not. People are like this is unheard of. This is. And I said that's why it's a fictional book. That this is that part is not the realistic part. A family being adopted, one from Chicago, one from India, one from Paris, one from London, one from Egypt. That's not something that would be real, like more realistic. But I love how nowadays, especially Bridgerton, where like there's some things that are real and people are open their eyes to, but it's also like, okay, we can blend these cultures together and show different people in these eras because they did exist in those eras. It just may not be in that light that people are used to seeing or want to hear about. And I like to make people a little uncomfortable. Like these are things, they're topics where, they're about immigrant siblings. They're coming from around the world and they get thrown into the wealthiest family in New York. How would you handle that if you came from a family of nothing and then you're thrust into this lifestyle of the rich and famous?
Well,
Okay.
Major Minor Books and such made a very interesting point that there has to be one sibling who's willing to tell on the others.
Oh,
Yeah, the
100%. Yeah.
tattletale.
Tattletale, and it's always the baby ones usually.
So are these all females? Are these the sisters that you
So
say?
it's three girls and four boys. So on my
Okay.
Instagram, if you go to Couture Marie, you will see I have like a family portrait of all the siblings together. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the
Oh,
family portrait of all the siblings as well.
Okay.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. So how did you decide like to recreate them with their features? And so who decided to paint the picture? Like,
Oh, who I got to? Oh, so I
no,
showed
well, no, I mean, how did you
the
decide what
artist
they were going to look like? That's what I mean.
how they were going to look like. So
Yeah, what they were going to look like.
I always had character inspiration from actors and actresses. So
Okay.
I'm a visual person. So when I was doing the writing process, I have a scrapbook and I would print up pictures and then I put like, oh, this is the songs they like. This is the type of things that they like to do. So I would have the actors and then I would say, okay, these are the colors they would wear. So when the artist actually, painted, sketched it, I
Mhm.
had my book already ready to give to her, and she created it from that. So it was so authentic to who they were because I created that book a few years ago when I first started writing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so
that's
every
good
book that
for
I
marketing
write,
purposes.
I do a scrapbook. And it's
Right.
like my
Okay.
favorite scrapbook that I can go through. I have my chapter outline, I have my synopsis, I have the elevator pitch, then I have the pictures, what style they would wear, what's their hobbies. because that makes them real. It makes it feel more real. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to do that. I've not actually made a whole scrapbook. I really like that concept. I mean, I make a character profile of each of my
Yes.
characters,
Character
but I
profile.
just kind of write it down. But I like
Yes.
how you take it the extra step.
Oh, arts and crafts. I love like gluing it, printing it up, gluing the pictures, and it makes
Yes.
it so like a physical, like tangible
And
instead
it
of looking
actually
at the
helps you to keep them
computer.
consistent, right?
Yeah, yeah. Very, very much so. Very much so.
I guess if you write fiction a lot, you have that process.
And also being an actress, that's how they do like
Oh,
cast the like
oh
with the
yeah.
roles. They have the pictures of like, okay, this is who we're kind of imagining for this role. We need to find
Right.
an actor, an actress that fits that. So I kind of blended both of those worlds when it came to that. I was like, okay, I need the visual. Sometimes I'll even have like a little cork board to do it. It just depends on how I want to.
Okay, so it's almost like a portfolio for your
Yeah, it is. It
Good way
is.
to
Yeah.
put it. Yes.
yeah
Yeah.
for your book. And that is an acting thing.
It
That
is.
is something that I have a friend who's an actress, and
Yeah.
actually more than one, but um, she picked up acting in her later years. So she plays, the mother role, the
Okay.
grandmother role. She plays those types of
Okay.
roles, and she
Yeah.
gets she gets quite a few roles.
That's good. Yeah. No, it's not that many. It's
Movies.
really not that many actors and actresses when you really think about it. It's really not that many of us.
Yeah,
Yeah, my
yeah.
daughter did it for a little while. She went to Clark Atlanta University for
Okay. All right.
yeah, she graduated with a theater degree. And
Okay.
she decided not to go the acting route after she graduated, but she uses many of those skills for when she goes on job interviews, and when she was doing the pageant circuit for a little while, a lot
Yeah.
of those skills helped her in the
Oh,
pageant
100
circuit.
translates very well.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
did you ever
amazing.
do pageants?
I'm actually running for Miss Alabama, USA, right now, the 75th Diamond year.
Okay.
So,
Okay, see, I asked the question and was
Yeah. Since we can't be in Alabama to cheer you on, we're gonna need you to win. So when you do
and Miss
the
USA is gonna be
hey.
in Miami this year, the 75th Diamond year. So, fingers
Oh,
crossed. I'm just going in with peace and I feel blessed to even have the
yeah,
opportunity because 3 years ago they didn't allow married women, and divorced and people that have children to compete. And now I would love to be the first Miss USA that has had all of those things happen to me. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm really
oh,
excited. I'm going
well, we
very
wish
hard.
you all the best. We can, well, I wish we could be
You.
there to cheer you on, but
Yes, they'll be
yeah.
but I'll send you the Zoom link. I'll send you the not the, I'll send you the live link where you can look at it live.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, that way we can cheer you on.
Yes, thank you so
hey.
much.
So here's the trivia we're going to do for your book.
Ooh.
And so, for those of you all who watch the show, if you get the answer right, you put it in the chat what you think the answer is, and whoever gets it first wins the book, and we mail you the book. So here's the trivia for the Roaring Ridleys. What is the first name of the oldest Ridley sibling?
Mm.
So the trivia that we ask is always in the synopsis or
Yes.
the author summary. So the first person to get the first name of the Ridley sibling, the oldest one,
Yes.
you get the book. So and
Hey,
this is an art. This is an art, but the book came out. Let's see, April 21st. So it
May
hasn't been
1st.
out a
It
month.
came out May 1st. They
Oh,
changed
they
the date.
changed it. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it
it came out
came.
May 1st.
Oh, okay. So 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's brand new.
Yeah.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And continued success in your acting career, your pageant career, and your
Thank
writing career.
thank you so much for having me.
Well,
Okay.
You're
it was
welcome.
a pleasure.
It was a pleasure meeting you. Bye-bye.
Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
So, Rhonda, give us a 1 minute wrap up about your trip to Antigua. We missed you last week for the awards, and
Yeah,
but I said when you were saying you were going to Antigua and you left Wednesday, didn't you?
yeah. I actually left Tuesday night. I took the train into New York, and that's why I
Okay.
thought I could still do the show because I'm like, okay, it's in New York. I'm going to be on the train. And I don't leave until later. I can at least do the show for a little while. It did not work out for me at all.
I was wondering how in the world. I said, how the heck she do all of that and go to Antigua the next morning or whenever
Yeah.
you went? I knew you it was imminent because I saw your video of you getting your braids done that
Yeah.
Monday. So it's good that you even tried. So it went well. We didn't have any glitches or anything. We had no
Good.
tech problems or anything like happened last year when we had the tech problem. But everything went well and everybody who won was excited. So
Good. I'm
but yeah,
happy.
I've never been to Antigua, so
Well, I will say it's a very, very beautiful island. It's in the Caribbean. So when we got off the plane and walked through the airport, we hear the kettle drums going, the guys playing the drums, and I just wanted to cry. I was like, look at all these beautiful Black people out here. It was just beautiful. We stayed on an all-inclusive resort. I don't know if you saw my picture when I was swimming with the
yes.
stingrays.
Anyway, I thought they were deadly.
I think those are the wild ones that are deadly. These are these are in a very controlled environment. They're very used to humans.
Okay.
So they were very friendly. They swim right up to you. They brush past you. They even let you hold the stingray, and then it actually like bends up so it can give you a kiss.
Oh wow. Because you know that crocodile man got killed by a stingray. The guy
Yes, but he was deep down in the water.
yeah,
He was with
he
the
was.
wild stingrays. This
He
was not a
was.
controlled environment.
And you know, there when something is deadly, it's deadly. Don't tempt fate. And God has already told you it's deadly. You want to, go out, go wild and think you can live forever. And the crocodile man he's gone. And he thought he could tempt fate. Some things you just
Well, no, this is why I do controlled environments. You will not see me go and mess around with some random stingray that's out minding its own business.
Well, I'm glad you got a chance. Was that your first time there?
Well, that's my first time in Antigua. If anybody has the opportunity to go, go. And I'll tell you, they have a history with slavery as well, and there's a very beautiful slavery memorial right in the airport. A lot of people may not realize it because it's up against the wall, but when you go over there and look at it, it's absolutely beautiful. And there are actually museums out there that talk about Antigua's history with slavery. So if you ever have the chance, do the fun stuff, do the partying, but make sure you pay homage to the history of the island as well.
Yeah, I've been many places in the Caribbean, not that one yet, but it's coming. I got some trips planned, so I'm gonna be going some places I haven't been before, and that's one of the ones that were on my list. So
Okay, I think you'll like it.
okay, so did we
Social
oh
Book Club got the answer first.
first, yeah, social book club did but the major minor books and such they answered it too, but after. So the
Right.
social book club, you all get um the book and we will mail it to you tomorrow or the next day it depends on scheduling. So our next guest, we have her book as well. So we have two books we're giving away today. And our next guest is Chrystal Giles. And she is a middle grade author. And her book is called Listen to the Girls. We have some trivia about her book as well. So, Chrystal, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here.
And you are joining us from where?
I am in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, all right. Well, my people are from North Carolina. So.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I got lots of roots there. My daughter
Awesome.
went to Central, which
Okay.
Durham, and my sister went to Bennett. My brother-in-law went to A&T,
Oh,
and
wow.
my dad
So-
went to Central before when it wasn't called Central. It was called North Carolina College when he
I
was.
love that. So you do have deep
Yeah,
roots.
both
Yeah.
my mother and my father from North Carolina.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. So, tell us about being a middle grade author. What made you decide middle grade is where I want to focus on?
Yeah, so to be honest, I started with picture books. And so writing is a bit of a second career for me. And I did not really come to writing for children until my son was born. He is almost 11, so it's been about 10 years or so. And to be honest, at that time, I just did not see enough books that reflected his life, my life, and our family. And so I started looking for books. I couldn't find exactly what I wanted. And so I just started writing picture books in the way that I wish they existed. And so I wrote some were good, some were not very good. But some ideas stuck with me, and I realized I had a lot more to say and I needed more space. So I decided to take one idea in particular and fold it into a middle grade novel to give me a bit more space on the page, and space to explore the topics that I wanted to. And that first book was my debut novel called Take Back the Block. And it was really directly inspired by the things happening in my city. And it gave me space to give my characters voice, and to discuss some topics that I wanted to discuss.
Like the fact that you were intentional about the grade level and age level that you wanted to target. I think sometimes people think about little children or they think about teenagers, like older teenagers, but that middle grade age bracket is a very pivotal time in kids' lives. And so it's good to have more stories that reflect their experiences.
I agree completely. Too often, this age range is kind of skipped, like you just said. I became a reader when I was in this age range. I loved books as like a 10-year-old. And so I would go to the public library, I would get a stack of books, and I remember those moments of being like 10 and reading. And my love of reading came at that age. And so it is intentional. And I've just grown to love the age range. I've grown to love the students when I get to talk to them. It's just my favorite age to write for.
Yeah. Um, the word pivotal that Rhonda used was the word that was in my mind too, because if you miss them or if you don't capture their attention in middle school, you lose them. That's the bridge between the elementary and high school. And normally, if they don't get traction in middle school, they won't do well in high school.
Right.
It really is the pivotal bridge. Those 3 years are really pivotal. So, and having some reading material that's relevant is part of it.
I agree totally. I write contemporary realistic fiction. And so I tell all of the students that I write for, I'm trying to capture you, your life, your aunties, your sisters. And if they do not sound like people you know, if my characters do not remind you of people, then I got it wrong. So I try very hard to make sure I tap into what they like, maybe what they're interested in, maybe the things that they don't know they're interested in. But I try to pull them in with language and voice that they relate to, and some fun stuff too. But to your point, often if you can hook them early, they'll stick with you. And so that's the goal.
Yeah, I wanted to refer to one of the questions that someone had online, and it could be relevant to your book too. They asked the major minor books and such as where do we order copies for our store? Normally for these books are by the big publishers, and normally for that you go through a distributor. So the one that we use, our company uses is Ingram. That's who we've been using for 25 years. But
I did put her website in the chat though. So if you want to try to reach out through the website, she may be able to point you in the right direction. But since that book is with a major publisher, When's Right, that may be the best place to go through is through that publisher or
right,
through one of the
through
distributors.
Ingram or the
Yeah,
publisher. But the thing about Ingram, you can order any book from any publisher.
right. That's true.
And whereas if you go to the publisher, you can only get their books. So that's the difference. And so you can't mix other titles or other other publishing houses works with an order. Um, so you do get a better price with a publisher normally, a better discount. But you have to weigh it all when you have a store. And I'm assuming that they do have a store because it's called Major Minor Books and such. So they're new to the show because I don't remember seeing them post before. So or comment before. So now your new book is called Listen to the Girls, and this came out May 5th, which is
Yes.
last 2 weeks ago. And tell us what this is about.
I love the
Okay.
title, by the way.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, you want to go ahead?
No, I just said I love the title.
Oh, yes. Okay, so listen to the girls. Before I give you, I will tell you, I write about real topics, right? I said that. So this book is my third novel, and it is for readers 10 plus, perfect for middle schoolers, and it approaches a tough topic, right? So the main character is Calla. She is approaching the very end of her seventh grade year. She's excited for summer break to hang out at the pool with her friends. And on the very last day of school, rumors start to swirl about her favorite teacher. And the
Mm.
rumors are that he has had some inappropriate behaviors with female students, and she is confused. She doesn't know what's true. She feels a little bit uncomfortable because this is her favorite teacher and she admires him, but she's also aware that everyone is talking about it and the source of the information feels real, but she doesn't know what to do. So this topic in the book is it's a real life topic. And so we follow her through the story on her discovery of truth. Um, and her and her friends also create a bit of a platform to listen to the girls' stories. And so the title is indicative of listening to the girls, which I think is also a call to action, but it's also tied into the plot as well.
Okay, so it's referring to if the girls tell you something is happening, something is wrong, something is going on, listen to them.
It is that, in the context of the story, it is everyone's voice deserves to be listened to, right? Everyone should have a safe place or be a safe place to listen to other people. And so in this story, Calla decides to try to be a safe place. Throughout the plot, she realizes that she also has a story to tell as well. And so I guess the general idea that I want readers to hear and to take away is if you have something to say, find a person who will listen. If someone comes to you with something to say, try to be a safe place for them as well. And so that call to action is really about safety and showing up for our people. And so that's the general idea of the title itself.
Okay.
I, I like it because and the underlying message I'm hearing is just voice. People have a voice, encouraging people and encouraging young girls to use their voice because sometimes a young girl, especially a young Black girl, can be shouting out and nobody hears her. They just hear a person shouting, but they're not hearing what she's actually saying.
Absolutely. And the support. So the book goes a little bit deeper, really age appropriate depth, but it does go deeper into what grooming is. It goes deeper into what it means to feel uncomfortable, what it means to not be sure what to say and when to say it. And so to your point, sometimes, our girls are speaking and they are being ignored. And so that's also kind of touched on in the book. And then sometimes they want to speak and they don't feel like they have a place to go where they'll be listened to or heard or believed. And so all of that kind of is addressed in the book as well, and some age appropriate conversations around what's appropriate, what's not, what we should be alerting our adults about, and things that may seem uncomfortable. I really wanted to touch on the nuance of what do we do when we feel uncomfortable, right? Let's not tuck it in, right? Let's not hide it. Let's talk out. Let's speak out a little bit about it. Find a safe person to talk to. And so the book addresses that.
Love that.
So does your character reach out to adults or does she discuss it with her fellow classmates?
So initially, she kind of tucks it in, right? And so she's going through this emotional struggle. And so the book really does go through her emotional arc of realization. There is a kind of third party adult in the book that she gets some information from. And she's kind of a safe person, but she doesn't really clue her into everything that she realizes throughout the story. And then she does have a safe community around her. Um, I'm very particular when writing for Black children to make sure they have support. And so all of my stories, they tackle real topics, but they also have people there in the form of mentors and parents and family and friends who support. And so in this book, I bolster the main character, Calla, with as much support as I can. So she has two best friends. They hang out, they talk, they share information. She has an older brother that she eventually gets to confide in, and then she also has her parents. So she has a ton of support, but initially she turns inward, which is what I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of adults do that.
Yes. And so a lot of children or adults will keep things to themselves for years.
One of my inspirations really was a situation I had as a seventh grader, just like Calla. I was not harassed by an adult, but I was harassed by a peer and someone I thought was a friend. And to that point, I didn't tell anyone. I was ashamed and embarrassed, and I thought, oh no, it'll be my fault. Back then, if you got attention from boys, you were fast. And so I was like, no, 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 I can't be that. And so a lot of those emotions actually I folded into the story because too often that's what happens. You just say, "Oh no, I don't have a great way to say this. I'm not sure what to say. I'm not sure how people will feel, so I'll tuck it in." And so one of the reasons that I wrote this story inspired by that, but also inspired by the large number of cases in my own school district of inappropriate conduct with teachers, coaches, clergy. I think we all watch the news and we know how often it happens. Too often, though, we aren't talking about it with our young people to say this is what we should be looking out for, and how to tap into the language, because oftentimes we just don't have the language.
Yeah, some people get some predators or people with predatory behavior that are in positions where they are connected with or coaching children. Sometimes they will go for years doing that before it comes out. Like what happened with that gymnastics coach
Mhm, mhm.
That
Yeah, yeah.
was it
You're
Gabby
talking
and
about the
Monica
U.S.
when they had
gymnastics
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, it was the US gymnastics team. But it wasn't Gabby, it was Simone. It
Hmm.
was after Gabby Douglas, I think. But anyway, that coach and on that particular coaching facility is in the Houston area where I live.
Okay.
And so he had been doing that for years, but because he was known as such a good coach that coached people to the Olympics,
Right.
people, either the girls didn't tell, and I think that's what they said, they didn't tell.
Hmm.
The parents
I
didn't tell.
watched, I actually watched a documentary on him, and I probably read and did a whole lot of research in general, but one of the points is that they didn't tell, or they weren't sure that it was inappropriate. Sometimes you don't know. Our young
Right.
people, they just got here, right?
Mhm.
If they haven't
Right.
experienced a whole lot of things. And so too often you don't know what's appropriate, or you go, well, that's a little uncomfortable, but. And so the but is the part where we get to have the discussion. So if you know it's uncomfortable, let's talk about it, right? And so too often people just don't know, or to your point, they don't say anything.
Mhm. Yeah, the hearing where they talked about it, I think they appeared before Congress, and
Hmm.
they were telling about their experience. And it's just, you just wonder why, what what makes a grown person, normally it's a male, but it can be a female too, abuse children. What are they purely evil, or were they abused too, and then they just got on this path where they were doing
I
the
think
same
it's
thing that was
probably
done to them?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. There are some who are just purely evil, and some just were abused, and that's the only thing they know. And sometimes it's a matter of power, having power over somebody or something. And unfortunately, that something winds up being kids.
Yeah, because children are the most vulnerable. They're the most trusting. They're the most naive. They don't, like you say, they just got here. So it's a lot they don't know. That's why they really need the protection of their parents and other adults in their lives.
Yeah,
So,
I kind of I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna just say, I outline in the book. The book isn't all heavy. I promise you, it has lots of humor and lots of fun things happening as well. But I do also outline some of the things to look out for if you're a young person, and what's appropriate, what's not. If people are trying to have you keep secrets from your parents, if they are showing you inappropriate videos, or if they're having inappropriate conversations, secret conversations, all of those things are kind of early signs. So that's kind of also explored in the book too.
Well, that's good, because any person, teacher or whatever, that tells you to keep something a secret from your parents, that is wrong. That's always wrong,
Yeah,
and shame on them. And that's a red flag. But again, children don't know that,
yeah.
and sometimes they'll threaten. There's instances where they're threatened to harm a parent if you tell. You know, so it's unfortunate. But now this book is your latest book, and your other two books, you said this is your third book. So what
Yes.
were your other two books? What were the topics for your other two?
Yes. So my first one is Take Back the Block. This is
Okay.
Wes, and it explores the topic of social justice and change in neighborhoods. So Wes is he lives in a neighborhood. It's loosely based in Charlotte, and his neighborhood is changing. A developer has come in and they want to buy the homes and make some changes. And so Wes isn't necessarily all that interested in standing up for his community, but he does not want to have to leave his home. And so it's an early look at what it means when neighborhoods are changing, what it means when corporations come in and want to tear things apart. So it's an entry level look at what gentrification is and what it means to tear apart neighborhoods and what it means to try to keep our neighborhoods whole. And so it's a deep dive into community. And it does have some social justice bits in it as well. And while his neighborhood is changing, his friendships are also changing. So lots of interesting bits in relationship to middle grade literature. Um, and then my second novel is called Not an Easy Win,
Okay.
and it follows a boy who is expelled on the first page of the book. Um, and usually I get young people to kind of lean in and go, "What did he do?" But he's expelled for fighting, and he says it's not my fault. It's not my fault. And so his name is Lawrence, and he's going through a bit of a change. He and his family have moved to rural North Carolina, and his family is a bit fractured, and he's feeling alone, and he's feeling like he doesn't have any place to go, and he feels like he's losing in everything. Um, and then he finds a rec center where these kids are playing chess, and he finds a mentor, and he finds a place to be. He finds his community there. And throughout the course of the story, he learns the game of chess, which is kind of a metaphor for life, really. But he also finds his people and he finds his place. And so all of that happens in the context of a story about a kid finding his people and his place.
I, so I really bow down to folks who can tackle these serious subjects that kids go through every day, but you still find a way to make them humorous. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, I'm so happy you said that. I worked very hard at it. One, no one wants to be barraged with heaviness, right? And so I don't want to do that either. I do tackle real life topics because kids go through them, and I like to address social and cultural things. but I try to infuse it with interesting language. I always have really, really interesting characters. And so, in Not an Easy Win, there's a girl and there's a crush and he likes her. And so it automatically adds some lightness to it. I also give the kids something to do. So in Take Back the Block, he has a school project and he also has a group of friends. And they are constantly in the middle of doing things, right? They play video games, they play basketball, all the stuff that kids like to do. And then in Not an Easy Win, they play chess, they listen to music. And so all of those things are what keeps the kids around for maybe the tough things. But if I give them enough fun, they usually stick around enough to keep reading. And so that's what I've done with my books to try to balance it out. I I commit myself to not putting like harm and trauma on my pages, particularly with Black children. So I will give you real life, but I'm gonna also even it out, and balance it out in a way that makes the book seems interesting and fun too.
Yeah, you're right. Nobody wants to be beat down by life. You
Yeah.
know, they're already
Yeah.
going through a lot, and then you might be giving them a voice, but they want to smile too sometimes. I get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of times reading is for escape or to be in another world or another place where you can think about different things. And it doesn't mean that your life is traumatic. It's just when I read, I like to read about. I love character development.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing, and some authors are just really great at that. So I noticed your first two books had boys as the main central theme, and you have a son. So then you decided you wanted to do something with the girls from book three.
I think so. So between me and my husband, we have 10 nephews. And like you said, I
Wow.
have a son. So I
Oh,
think I think at
wow.
some point, well, we got a couple nieces, but it's way more nephews. And
Okay.
so I think at a point, the boy brain was just on my mind. Also, when I first came into this industry, there were not a lot of books that focused on Black boys. There were some, and they were great, but I thought I could bring the nuance of humor and fun and emotion and not those flat characters. To your point, creating characters is my absolute favorite part of writing, is what I do first. If I can't hear my character voice, I don't write it. So I wanted to fill out the boy voice because too often it's flat, right? And it's usually a singular negative narrative, and I wasn't going to do that. So I think originally that was kind of my goal. And then I just had to wait for this girl to find me. I knew what I wanted her to be, but I had to wait for her to find me. And so I'm so happy that I got to fill her up too. And so going forward, I'll have a mix of boy and girl characters. But even the books with boy characters, there are very strong girls in there as well. So I mix it up. But I am happy to have my first girl, I have to say.
Yeah, a lot of when you have children, a lot of your writing is inspired by the children that you have. It's
Mhm.
just, especially if you're writing fiction or nonfiction, which is the case, for me with some of the work I've done. So we're going to do the trivia now.
Okay.
So we're going to give the book away. And the trivia for Listen to the Girls, I had put a sticky note on it, but Listen to the Girls by Chrystal D. Giles. And the trivia is the main character, Kala's mother, Dion, is employed in what profession? So that's the trivia. What does Kala, the main characters, what does her mother do as her profession? And if you answer correctly, or the first person to answer correctly gets a copy of the book mailed to them. And I think, is this a ARC or is this a, yeah, this is an advanced reading copy, but it looks just like the book.
It
So
does. It does. And it's really close to the final copy for sure.
yeah. So we're at the end of our time, Chrystal, but um, thank you for being a guest on the show. We're assuming your book is available wherever books are sold. And congratulations on book number 3.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for doing all you do for Black authors too. I love the space and thank you for having me.
Okay, you're
Thank
welcome.
you. We really enjoyed talking with you, and best wishes.
Thank you.
Okay, have a great night.
Bye.
Okay, well, our next guest, the
Well, the
Social
Social
Book
Book
Club,
Club.
they won
Yep.
it again. So they won both books. And it's fair. We don't put a restriction on who can win the books, whoever answers first. So Social Book Club answered them both correctly. So that means I only have to spend one I only have to ship one package. It's one set of dollars for postage. So anyway, we talked a lot on the show, on previous shows, about the increase in audiobooks and how so many people are reading audiobooks now. And Rhonda, she reads most of her books by audiobook. I'm not an audiobook listener, but I respect the craft. And we wanted to have a narrator on the show. So our first narrator, and we're going to be inviting some other ones because I kind of want to see the differences between how they approach the craft and just the whole their participation in the industry. But our first one is Cary Hite. And when I posted that he was going to be on the show, I was getting responses from people saying that you were their favorite narrator. So, um, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, Rhonda, you muted yourself.
Oh, sorry. I said thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm excited to talk with you because Gwen knows that I am an audiobook girly. I just don't have the time as much as I used to anymore to sit down and read a book, but it doesn't mean that I don't love books. So I like to listen to a book while I'm driving, while I'm exercising. But one thing, as many audiobooks as I've listened to, and a narrator can really ruin a story if they are not engaged in a story and if they are not making the story sound interesting. So I mean, but how do you do that? Do you have to really like the story before you choose the story to read?
That would be nice. Would be.
Okay.
Well, first, I'd like to say listening to audiobooks is also reading.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
So yeah, I just want to put that out there to debunk all the nonsense of people say that that's not reading. It absolutely is. Now, in terms of getting into the story, I like to think about not just the person who took the time to write the story, but who their listening audience is going to be. And because there's a market for every type of story out there. And even though sometimes the subject matter may not be something that I am, that is a favorite of mine at that point in time, I approach each one as if it is. And along the way, I learn some things about it that I can connect with. And then I keep whoever's going to be listening to it in mind. So you have to stay locked in. And I think for me, my pathway to get there is I played sports for a long time. So I kind of tap into that athletic mind state. You just got to do what you got to do to get it done. So yeah, that's how I approach it.
So what sport did you play?
I played football and I ran track.
Oh, okay. What position in football?
I played corner and safety.
Okay. I'm an avid football fan.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Wait,
NFL.
well,
NFL.
you're in Texas. You're in Texas, right?
But that's not my team. But yeah,
Oh,
I'm in Texas.
But
okay.
everybody in Texas is a football fan, though. It's like the law.
Is it? You think so? Well, it's known for that, but not everybody is. But I get what you're saying. There is a
Oh, I mean,
representation
because
for Friday football.
I played plenty down in Houston. I played plenty.
Okay, did you play pro?
Well, I played semi-pro for a while, so I was
Okay.
bouncing.
Okay. Yeah, the corners, they don't get as much attention and recognition as they should.
Well,
Um
now they do. Now they're getting paid. They're getting paid way more than when I was playing corner.
yeah, well, you're right. In later years, they have become more famous.
Yeah,
Uh, and with that goes the paycheck. But it's very,
right.
very important because they protect they defend against the points.
Against,
And
against
so
those speedy wide
yeah,
receivers.
yeah.
Exactly.
So it's so it's interesting that you put sports with the I would never have thought of that. But now did you do any kind of voice work or radio work ever? Did you do any of that?
No, never. Mm-mm.
So what
I
made you say, okay, I'm gonna start narrating books?
well,
What
I started when I was in college. I was trying to get an intro to acting class as an elective because everyone said that was an easy A. But I wasn't able to get into the class because everybody signed up for it. So it was already packed. So I went to the head of the department to try to get written in. And instead of writing me in, he invited me to an audition for a play. Out of curiosity, I went to the audition and I got to see other people auditioning, and that gave me the confidence to be able to do it myself. I went up there, I did it. I ended up getting cast, and then that play ended up being Fences, and it was my first introduction to August Wilson and all of
Wow.
his work. And so then that was very important to me because then I did a deep dive, and then I wanted to do all of his stuff. And again, even with my first stage play, I didn't have acting experience, but I had life experience. And I used the things I had learned from football and in life to help me navigate this new world of acting, theater. And so really becoming more involved with theater opened up opportunities for me to then audition for Audible. And once I got in with them, it was off to the races.
Now, audiobooks have become somewhat of a side hustle now. I mean, they'll say if you want to earn extra money, go to ACX and make an audition tape and wait for somebody to choose you, and you can read audiobooks. And I see you shaking your head, so I know you know where
yeah.
I'm. So I think people don't really understand, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about how sometimes a narrator can make or break a story.
Mhm.
So what are some things that people just may not realize? It's not as easy as just picking up a manuscript and reading it.
If you want to side hustle, do Uber Eats. That's a
I
good
know
side
that's
hustle if
right.
you have a car. Uh, Audiobook narration is not a side hustle. Um, you have to be dedicated. It's a craft. It's not a hustle. It's a whole craft. You have to study. It's technique, and yeah, it's a lot involved. So when I see those ads, they really annoy me because that's not it. Um, it's a lot of time and dedication, and especially in the world of voice, it is the most time consuming. So anyone who gets into it thinking it's a quick side hustle, you are sorely mistaken, and you will probably never do it again because it's it's uh it's time consuming and very work intensive. But if you love to tell stories and you want to learn how to do this, then there are excellent coaches and just narrators who can help you along the pathway. Excellent workshops, where people are always giving advice and telling you about tools because it's also technical. You have to have some technical knowledge because you're working with a digital workspace. So you have to know how to use Pro Tools or Audacity or GarageBand, any number of of recording platforms. And sometimes you'll have to edit yourself. You have to direct yourself. So say say you're trying to get someplace, but you don't have GPS and you don't know which way to go. How are you going to direct yourself if you don't know what you're doing? So yeah, it's a craft, not a side hustle.
Now, is there a particular kind of story you like to narrate, like genre wise, or are
The
you kind
next
of
one,
open
I'm all,
to?
I'm all over the place. So just
Okay.
the next one, like what?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, because I narrate across all genres. So really, it is about the story. I've been extremely fortunate in that way. Where you'll have some narrators that are focused on one genre because that's what they love, especially romance.
Mm.
So they'll label themselves as romance narrators. Um, I'm just a storyteller. So if I really like the story, I dig the story, I can tell the story.
Okay.
But I will say this, I've been fortunate that I've been able to narrate a lot of autobiographies and biographies. So when people entrust you with their life story, that's a great honor. And so I really, I really enjoy that.
So you've kind of gotten to the point where people are seeking you out instead of you having to audition for stories.
Well, I do get straight offers, but I still audition for sure. I just saw a colleague of mine. She posted a video not too long ago. She's been in the game a long time and she's well known in the space. And she was saying how back in the day, they would just give you jobs. I remember that. Remember that time? They would just say, "Hey, this is your next job," and I'd go do it. Uh, Now there's so many, the space has blown up so much, especially within the last 10 years, especially within the last five, especially
Mhm.
when everyone stayed home and everybody wanted to try to make money. So yeah. Um, so yeah, our audition, there's it's a lot of people out there who tell stories, who love to tell stories, and now they can get really granular with authenticity. So whereas before, if they needed someone uh, Peruvian, they would just look for someone who maybe could affect a Peruvian accent instead of finding someone from that culture. But now there's so many narrators in the mix now. You can get really specific in your casting.
Hmm.
Well, audiobook reading has not been protected from AI.
Mm.
So now,
Ask about AI.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna ask about AI. That was my next question.
But the
Rhonda
only
was
thing I was going to ask about, I'm an AI proponent. I use AI, but I actually even considered one of those Amazon services where they would get an AI voice to read it. I was like, this is making my story sound so robotic. I can't do this to my story.
Good
But
choice.
yeah, but people are seeing that now. They're like, oh, maybe I can save a few dollars by just doing an AI voice now. But what's the danger in doing something like that?
Um, if you were going to get heart surgery, would you want to go to a discount doctor?
Exactly.
I don't think so. So if you love your story, you're going to tell everyone how you feel about it by who you choose to hire. So I would say this, the AI, the technology itself will continue to get better, sure. And there are great uses for it. But with something that powerful, you got to be careful because not everyone has great intentions in its usage. Um, and they do use it to cut costs and corners and whatnot. But the thing AI can never, because the only thing AI can do is follow commands at this point. AI is not sentient, meaning it doesn't have any lived in experiences. I have lived in experiences. So when I'm telling your story, it's from a real place, not a replicated place of somebody else's experience.
You
So
know
in
how
that,
that character feels because you may have gone through that similar situation yourself.
exactly. Where all AI could do is just regurgitate it. They could just repeat it but AI has never gone through it itself. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of
so
like the difference between having a soul and not having a soul. To
right,
me, AI
absolutely,
is soulless.
right,
There's no humanity to it.
right.
And it shows.
Hmm.
Um, now I don't think you can replicate the human. You can come close, but you
Again,
can't.
it'll just be repeating. It'll just be
Right,
repeating. It won't be creating.
right,
And that's what we
exactly.
do. We create.
Yes, humans do.
Yeah.
So create stories and worlds and AIs. I use AI very limited, in a very limited sense. And I did participate in the beta thing with Amazon where they turned your book into an audiobook, and I have two
Mhm.
novels, but I'm scared to even listen to it. No,
And
I don't know
see,
what they did to my story, and I don't even want to hear it when
see
I
now
do
now the
it.
difference is
Okay,
if you were to have five different narrators audition for your story, so you got to hear five different perspectives of your story,
Right.
and then you got to choose who you wanted to tell your story based on how they performed it, you you couldn't wait to hear that story.
that's
But
true.
you just said you're scared to hear it
Yeah, I'm
because
scared to
you're
hear because
afraid
I
it
know
butchered.
it's no soul to it, and
Mhm.
so I haven't sold any that I know of. I don't
Yeah.
think I sold any audiobooks.
I let AI do probably 3 or 4 paragraphs of surprise swipe right. And my
Okay.
characters are from New Orleans.
Hmm.
They're black, they have soul, they cook. I
I hear
wasn't
you, baby.
I
Hmm. Yeah,
wasn't it.
yeah.
I wasn't hearing that in the voices I was being offered. So I said, I'm just gonna hold on to my book until
Hmm.
I find a narrator and have the narrator do
Exactly.
it.
That's the way.
Yeah. Now,
We use the hashtag human voices only. Like we use that
how
a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, that's
Hmm.
good. And I say we need to resist AI and fight back. That whole thing about M dashes and them saying that if you use M dashes, it could be AI. Well, that's nuts.
No, well,
But
like I said, I gotta stand up for folks though, because there's nothing wrong with using M dashes and other types of writing devices. The problem is that AI overuses them. So just because you have an M dash doesn't mean that it's necessarily AI. But if there's an M dash every other sentence,
Hmm.
when they're using an M dash when they could have easily used a comma or even two different sentences, sometimes you can tell that that's AI writing. And I think because so many people are trying to fight back against that, they're giving the poor lazy writers who are actually using AI a pass. And
Hmm.
so and
Yeah.
I tell my clients all the time, you can use AI, but you still need to know how to write. You still need to know the principles of writing, because
Yeah.
how are you going to know what's wrong and what's right if
Hmm.
you're just depending on the machine to do it all for you?
Exactly.
yeah, it'll be a story without soul. And if I read a book that I think is AI or an author, I hear about an author that's using AI, that's an automatic no for me. I will not support their work. It's just
Mhm.
insulting as a reader. It's like you're using a shortcut. It's like a get this quick. You think you're gonna, it's no shortcuts to things. You have to do it right or not do it. And so every tool can be used or misused, and every stage of technology there's some level of scamming and or shortcuts, but
Right.
the people who do good work, they always rise to the top. So
Exactly.
um
Like I would, this is what I tell people all the time, especially when it comes to audiobook narration. The time is the time. There are absolutely no shortcuts. You have to read every single word, every single sentence from beginning to end. The time is the time. It's going to take you however long it takes. Would you want AI to cook your Thanksgiving meal? If you're known for your sweet potato pie, you want AI to do that now?
AI can't AI can't replace my sweet potato pie because it's good.
This is what I'm talking about. So like at the end of the day, when I'm done with the project, and I can stamp that because I know what I did in that booth, And I'm like, oh yeah, you're gonna love this one. Yeah, take a listen to that. And I want to be proud. I'm gonna be proud of it.
Now, in that respect, Cary, there are a lot of authors, myself included, who I actually want to turn my books into audiobooks, especially some of my older novels. I
Hmm.
feel like I can find a whole new audience for them
Hmm.
once I turn them into audiobooks. But
Yeah.
what are some things that authors should consider when searching out a good audiobook reader? And I think you were touching on one when you talked about the time is the time, because if you look on ACX, um, there you can be charged by I think it's per finished hour
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
or a flat rate. And
Right.
sometimes people are going by what's cheapest, but that
Hmm.
may not always be the best route, depending on what your book is about, the subject matter, and so forth and so on. So, can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I think where people get hung up at is they don't understand the economics surrounding all of it. So it could sound really expensive just because you haven't heard those numbers before. So it sounds like it's a lot, but really when you understand all the work that goes into it, the pre-production, getting the book, prepping it, making sure you get all the pronunciations correct, all that, then the actual production, the recording of the book, and then the post-production where you have a whole nother team who's going to listen to the book first. They're going to proof it, make sure that it's mistake free. And if there are mistakes, then you have a pickup session. So you re-record those mistakes, you turn it back in, and then they have to process it. They have to make it retail ready. So, it goes through processes to make it sound just right. So then once it's retail ready, but now you've seen how many phases it has to go through in order to get to the point where people can actually listen to it. And each phase costs money. So I would say you have a lot of home narrators, and if they do it from home, then yeah, you can mitigate some of the costs as opposed to having someone go into a studio or a publisher or whatever. Um, Depending on what kind of deal. Like if you're using ACX, but then the narrator also wants to go to a studio, that's going to be an extra cost as opposed to them just narrating it at home, and then they're the producer of the whole thing, and then they may have to hire a post-production company just to take care of that part. Um, and then there's a sliding scale of people's per finished hour rate. So on ACX, you'll find a variety of rates because you'll have people who are new, or you'll have people who were sold this idea that audiobooks are a great side hustle. So they're just charging for things they don't know. They don't know what they're doing. And so you got to go to people who know what they're actually doing and talking about. You talk to them, and I say the best way to do that, book conventions. I just started going to conventions. I would say now this makes my second year. I've gone to a couple of romance conventions, and I'm looking to even expand that, go to some sci-fi mystery conventions, because now that's where authors go. They can sell their books, narrators can go sign merchandise, sell merchandise, and it's a great way for us to connect, network, get to know each other personally, face to face. And then you can look into someone's eyes and say, you know what, you're the person who I want to tell my story. And then you
Hmm.
can work that out there. So like, yeah, it's really, really going outside and showing up. Like, because even as I've done that, I've been in this business for years, but I've noticed, even I have noticed a difference in going outside. I've even had a couple of people who've listened to my stuff who believed I never go outside. So, yeah, so meeting people face to face, getting to take pictures, getting to have conversations with them, they know you're real. So now there's a comfortability in that, and they already trust you because they like what you do. So now you just deepen that trust, and you can have these sorts of conversations.
Hmm. So, what are a couple of books that you've narrated recently? Not ones that haven't been released yet, because that might be
Right.
too much inside stuff, but
Right.
that we might
Well,
know.
the latest one is called House of the Rising Sun by Kawan, and he's an author I've been narrating with for a long time.
Yeah,
I've
I've
narrated
known Quan
it.
probably from since he first started in writing, and he's going to
Yeah,
be back on the show a couple of weeks from now.
yeah.
So yeah,
So
but I
that
didn't
was,
know you narrated his books. So
oh yeah.
this is new information.
Oh, I've narrated quite a few. We make a good team. Like so the House of the Rising Sun is the latest one, and we
Mm,
actually have one coming out next month called Trouble Man, which is a, a new pathway, and that may have its own path, but he could speak more to that than I can. So yeah, House of the Rising Sun is my latest one. I'm working on one right now, which is a romance, but I can't really speak on it. But
mhm.
I'm still in the lab working.
Okay,
Well,
now
I'll
when
say social book club. You have a huge fan in the social book club.
Oh,
She's just spouting off book titles. She said, "Hey, Cary," and
what's
then
up? What's up?
another one. She's like, "Oh shoot."
yeah,
Shout out.
now have you done books where uh you work with other narrators, like doing
Hmm.
the same book?
Sure. That happens quite often in romance. You'll have another narrator, I'm a female narrator, and I'll do all the male point of views,
Mhm.
and she'll do all the woman point of views. Uh, that's one I'm working on right now. I have a fellow narrator. And so when that happens, we'll discuss what we're doing with the voices. I'll send a voice of the different characters that I'm going to play, because those characters will end up in their chapters as well. So just so that we can stay on point with how we're portraying these different characters.
So it
You
really
keep,
is like acting.
Oh, it absolutely acting. Yes.
but how do you keep the characters' voices consistent? I mean, do you ever forget and give a well, maybe not you because you're good, but have you heard?
Does that mean? No. But but I will say I know I have a lot of voices in my head, but from past characters. But uh there are people who have great organizational skills for that. They'll keep a file. They'll keep a voice file of the characters that they do. So just in case, especially if they're doing a series and they know they're doing a 3 book series, and this character is throughout the 3 books, they make
Right.
sure they keep a voice file of that and stow it away so they can always refer back to it. And people do tricks. They'll say like maybe a couple of words that the character will say because that character has, for instance, maybe a New Orleans accent. And so to help them get into the accent in the character, they'll say a couple of words native to the place of origin of the character. So there's tons of techniques. So it's just whatever anyone feels comfortable with.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Now, do you have a studio in your house? Do you go to the studio? How do
Both.
you?
Because of the pandemic, I was forced to create something on the fly. So I hopped on YouTube, learned what I had to learn, and then I made it happen. But since things have opened up again, I'll go to a studio. Um, I still enjoy going to the studio. It's a whole production for me. It's a whole day. You get to go, you perform, then you go out afterwards, whatever. Um, but yeah, I knock stuff out at home all the time.
Hmm. Well, this is really interesting. I could ask you some more questions, but we're at the end of our time. And so, if people want to know that a book is narrated by Cary Hite,
Hmm.
can they
Uh,
search for those? Can they look it up that way if they want to buy a book or audiobook narrated by you?
right.
Is it is that available? Is that information available to them?
Sure. Yeah, very easy to find.
Does
Carrie Height.
Amazon have that on there on
Sure. Like if
Amazon?
you if you if you go to audible.com and just
Mhm.
type my name in, you'll find
Oh
all of it. Yeah.
Did we
Um,
ask how many books you've done?
no, we didn't.
so no, I'm hovering at right around 400.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a lot of talking.
I'm gonna need you to do 400. I'm gonna need you to do 407 because you're gonna have to do my books.
Okay. Say less. I got you.
So if a person wanted to hire you, like that wasn't with a big publishing house, there's independent, and they wanted to hire you to do their voice, their audiobook. Do you do that? Do you work
I
with?
do. I've had people contact me through my website, caryhite.com. Or even I've even had some people DM me on Instagram, Cary Hite at Cary Hite. So I make it very easy for people to find me, and then we'll have a conversation. And if it matches, if we're in the same playground, then we'll play.
Okay.
Okay, this
Yeah,
is
that he's willing to play in the sandbox with you.
Yeah. Yeah, just bring me some gum, some juicy fruit or something.
Yeah, this is interesting. I'm not an audiobook person as of yet. I like reading, and I tried it once, but I think it was either the mechanical voice or it was just a person who was monotone, and the book wasn't very good. So the whole experience was just
There was
not.
a whole lot of stuff going on, right?
You, real quick because I know we're over time, but you remember back in the day when you were driving long distance and you could stop at Cracker Barrel and get an audiobook?
Mm-hmm.
I stopped at Cracker Barrel and got an audiobook, and it used back in those days it came in like like
CD.
7 discs, yeah,
Yeah.
CD.
Uh-huh.
I threw that first CD into my CD player, and the narrator was so bad. I stopped at the next Cracker Barrel and gave
Return.
the book back
Gave it right back.
and got another.
Yeah. Well, there are a whole world of really good, really quality narrators out there. So
Yeah.
yeah. So even if I'm not the choice, I can point you in the direction of people who can knock it down. So yeah, I have confidence in my colleagues that I know personally.
Okay. Well, Cary, thank you for being a guest on Black Authors Matter TV
My pleasure.
and opening up the world of Audible and audiobooks and narration to our audience.
Yeah. Ever want to have more discussions, just let me know. We'll find the time.
Sounds like a plan to me.
All right.
All right. Have a great night.
All right, you do the same. All right, good night.
Okay. I learned quite a few things that I didn't know. I might need to pull up one of the books that he narrated for
Yeah.
my next audiobook experience.
I think as long as you have a good narrator, you'd enjoy the book.
Mm-hmm. So our final guest is Janae Marks, and we had a middle grade author on, and Janae Marks also writes for the middle grade, and she has a number of books, but her latest book is called, I have it in front of me. You can tell us what your latest book is.
Oh, yes, it's called A Split Second. This is the
Okay.
one the last one that came out, although I don't know if you're referring to the one that's gonna come out this fall, which is called Starting Now.
Starting now. Okay, no, we normally don't do the books that are coming out.
Okay, so this is the last one that is out now.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
sorry,
we try to promote the ones that are already out to help sell the books. So, well, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And how long have you been writing for the middle grade?
So my first book came out in 2020, but I started writing, books that, in order to be published for many years before that. But I actually started out writing young adult novels. None of those got published, but those are sort of the couple novels that I wrote before I got published. And then the one that did get published was when I actually did decide to switch to writing middle grade. I had an idea that made more sense for middle grade, and then that's when I made that switch. And that's the first book of mine to be published. So since then, I've really enjoyed being in this space writing for this age group. So I've kind of stayed in that space since.
Okay,
So
Hmm. Well, I was going to ask what's the difference, the main difference between the middle grade books?
Yeah, I mean, well, the simplest difference is the age group of the main characters. So, in YA, your characters usually are in high school. They're, often around 16, 17, maybe 15 years old. And in middle grade, your main character could be anywhere from like 10, 11 to 12 years old, maybe sometimes 13, but very much like a middle school experience or upper elementary school experience. And I would say the other thing besides just the obvious age difference is maybe just the way that the story is told. I think your teenage main character is going to have a different perspective of the world than your middle school main character, because your middle school main character, hasn't necessarily gone out and been so independent just yet. They're maybe just starting to show independence now as they're going to middle school. So I think when you're telling the story, you got to think about what viewpoint they're going to have versus a teenager who's been out in the world a little bit longer, who's maybe had more freedom, had more exposure to things. So that's also just a difference in terms of how you tell your story for those two different age groups.
Okay. And then the middle graders are also going through puberty or
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of, I mean, I would say in both age groups, there's a lot of big changes potentially happening. But I think, yeah, for those middle school kids, there's a lot of firsts, maybe your first crush, maybe your first time, really seeing the world without your parents kind of hovering over you. Yeah, definitely experiencing puberty. There's all kinds of things that go on in those years. I think nobody probably wants to go back to middle school, but I think it's kind of fun to, I know it's fun to revisit and in writing and write about those because there's so much story. There's so much to remember about what it was like to be that age.
Do you find yourself looking back on your own time as you're writing your stories?
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's a lot of things that are just really universal in that age group. So even though, I'm much older now, I can still relate to a lot of I can remember what it was like to be that age in a lot of ways. All of my stories all feature, some sort of subplot around friendship. So, because I really do like exploring friendship, and I would say a lot of that was also just inspired by what are the things that I went through with my friends, when I was that age that kids are still going through today, like all the drama. So, it's not hard for me to kind of remember situations I was in and see that kids are still going through those same kind of situations now.
Now, I always wonder when it comes to young reader authors such as yourself, even when you're thinking back on your experience as a young child, how do you not inject your adult way of thinking into the story? Because even if I'm thinking back, I'm still remembering it with an adult point of view, not so much a kid's point of view. I almost have to remind myself that, okay, Rhonda, you were only 13 back then, or you were only 8 back then. You weren't going to look at it that way.
That's the thing. I think that's the biggest challenge with writing for this age group is you really have to set aside your adult perspective and put yourself in the headspace of a child. And if you don't have that ability to kind of remember back what that's like, or you don't have children in your life that kind of remind you now what that perspective is like, then it can be really hard. I think that's why, some authors or some writers in middle grade do have a hard time because they're just not really quite getting that voice right. But I think it's really about tapping into your inner child, I guess. And also it helps too if you happen to have kids in your life, or if you've ever taught, or have different situations where you can interact with youth today, just kind of remind you, again, their perspectives are very different. So right now I have so my daughter now is going to be 11 later this year, so that she's kind of now just getting into that space. So I feel like just parenting her, I'm seeing how she sees the world. So that gives me a little bit of a leg up. But I mean, that is definitely a challenge when writing for this age group.
Yeah, there's a point when they clearly start to think for themselves in terms of you not basically giving them all their thoughts.
Right.
They start coming up with some original thoughts. Now, do the thoughts make sense? Sometimes no, but they actually, when they look at the world, you can see that they are thinking about how the world operates and how it affects them.
Yeah, I think that's the point. Like, I think you don't always expect young characters, this age group, to understand. I mean, that's why when you're sharing stories, about whatever topic, you want to kind of think about it. Like, what if this kid is learning about this for the very first time? What if they really had no idea that the world worked this way? You have to kind of think about it from that perspective and try really hard not to put your grown-up perspective when sharing their story.
Yeah, I was an avid reader from age 4, and when I was in middle school, I read 3 or 4 of books by Iceberg Slim, which I don't know if you know who he is, but he wrote street books before there was urban fiction. And so I thought the whole thing was fictional. Because I had never seen, people do those things. I didn't know anything about drugs or, he had some really, now I bought the books through the mail. That was back when, they were in a brown wrapper or whatever. I don't know if the wrapper was actually brown, but you could buy them through the mail. You order them through the mail. So my parents didn't know I was reading them. And if they did, they didn't even know about those books. But the titles were like, Horse Son was one of them. And I think it was
I read
like
that.
Pimp. It was something with the pimp in the title. They were really racy. I thought they were very interesting, but I thought it was pure fiction. I had no idea that actually people lived like that. And so I didn't learn that till I became an adult. That's when I
Right.
found out that stuff was really going on. So, um, you know, children can read and absorb things if they have an interest in reading and the world around them. Now, the book that's out now is called Split Second.
Yes.
And so, what's that one about?
So this one is, it was my first time writing a book that had kind of light fantasy elements. All my other novels before this were all realistic fiction. So A Split Second is about a girl, and she basically has had a really fun day. Her name's Elise. She's just had a really fun day with her 2 best friends. They went to the fall carnival in their town, and they're now having a sleepover. She's expecting to continue, hanging out with them the next morning. But when she wakes up the next morning, somehow her friends are nowhere to be found, and she realizes that somehow it is 6 months in the future. So somehow she's jumped forward in time. And then when she goes to find those friends, they're no longer speaking to her. They want nothing to do with her. So somehow she's lost her time and her friends, and she needs to figure out what is going on, how she can get those friends back. The other character, she's the one in the white shirt, and the other character in the yellow is Cora. She's a girl from her past. They used to be friends back in the day, but they haven't really been friends recently. But when she jumps forward in time, all of a sudden Cora's talking to her again. So it's very much a friendship story. Her navigating what happened with my other friends, and also navigating this new friendship with Cora. And also there's that mystery through line of, what happened to me? Is this magic, or did I just lose my memory? Like, how did I lose this time? But you can probably tell from the cover that magic does play a part. So it does kind of have that light fantasy. So it's kind of like realistic with like a light fantasy touch.
Yeah, light fantasy. So it's still kid friendly.
Yeah, and it takes place in
She
our
only went
world.
6 months. She only went 6 months into the future.
Oh yeah, only 6 months. And I did that intentionally because I was thinking, what if you go too far in the future, everything is going to be totally different. But if you were to only go 6 months in the future and wake up, she's still in the same grade. She still goes to the same school. But enough really big things to her, like her friendships, have been impacted. Enough for her to feel really confused and want to get that time back. So I purposely didn't, she still has her family. She's still living at home. A lot of things are the same. But these things that are different are jarring enough that she needs to figure out how to solve this problem.
And now, which book is this for you? Which number book? How many
This
books?
one, it was number 4.
Okay, all right. And then your other 3 before that, are they also middle grade books? And
They are.
What kind of subject matter?
Yeah, so they are all middle grade. So my debut novel, which was From the Desk of Zoe Washington, this one was one that touched a little bit more on tougher themes and like social justice themes. Basically, the main character, Zoe, finds out that her father, who she's never met because he's been in prison her whole life, she finds out that he might actually be innocent of the crime. And so she just sets out to uncover the truth about what happened to him. And I ended up writing a sequel to that called On Air with Zoe Washington. So those 2 stories feature those kind of themes of, incarceration, possible wrongful conviction. But there's also some light themes because she's a baker, so she bakes a lot in both books, and that adds a lot more fun to the story. And then my other book is A Soft Place to Land, which touches on topics of dealing with change in your family. The main character in this, Joy, she, due to financial hardship, her parents had to move from her to basically sell her childhood home and move into an apartment across town, and they're dealing with some financial struggles, and so she's kind of in this, kind of in the middle of all of this, and she's not really feeling very much at home in this new apartment building they moved to. And so it's really about like, how do you adjust from these changes that happen that are outside of your control when you're a kid. Your parents are fighting, like things are outside of your control. How do you find your place again? And then there's also another mystery storyline in here too, because she ends up making a friend in the building who introduces her to a secret hideout, sort of like a space only the kids know about in the building. And there she ends up uncovering a mystery. So I tend to add a lot of like mystery subplots, or at the very least through lines, to my books to kind of make them more fun for young readers.
Okay. Now, do you have a teaching background or?
I don't. I worked for a few years after college in book publishing, actually. I worked for one of the big publishers, Simon and Schuster, for several years. And then I did work for a charter school network for a while, but not in the teaching side. I was more on the admin side. But yeah, I've done a bunch of different things before I was finally able to write full time a few years ago.
So you just have almost a natural affinity to kids.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I didn't necessarily know I wanted to write books as a kid. I loved to read. But when I was in college, I was an English major. I knew I wanted to do something with books, but I didn't know what. But I took some creative writing classes, and then I actually took a children's literature class just for fun as an elective, and that's kind of what kind of reminded me, oh yeah, like this is a whole category of books that really, like, it's got me to where I am today. Like really made me love reading. So I think remembering that kind of brought me back to it, and yeah, it's been really fun. I think one of the really rewarding parts of writing for this audience is getting to talk to the kids who are reading your books and hear what they have to say about them.
Right.
So you go to schools and
yeah, when I can, I love going to schools, getting to, let the kids ask their questions, tell them the inspiration behind the books, and hear what they have to say, about the different things that are going on in the stories. I think that's definitely the most rewarding part, because that's, you want them to be excited about reading. So if I can get them excited about reading with any of my stories, I'm excited.
So the kids that you present to, do they do they ever ask you tough questions?
Sometimes, I've been to, because my first book, the Zoe Washington book, touches on, themes of like racism and things in our social justice, our criminal justice system, etc. I've had some kids, ask like, have you experienced, racism, or like, what have you experienced? They'll ask me if it's based on a true story, and it's not based on a true story, but, I think I can, talk about how, as a Black author, I do want to represent, some of the experiences that kids have, the good and the ugly, so there's going to be times when I can relate to some of the things that the characters are going through, even if it's not true stories. So there's, I don't know. And then I feel like most of the time they're not really asking tough questions. They're usually asking like fun, silly questions, like, I don't know, like, which is your favorite book, or, fun stuff usually. But every once in a while I'll get a hard-hitting question, and then I'm like, oh, let me think about that.
When you presented your first book about the dad who was incarcerated, did any of the kids talk about perhaps a family member who might have been incarcerated?
Yeah, definitely over the years, I've had a few situations where a student would say, oh, I know what that feels like because I had a parent who was in prison. Or if not them directly telling me, maybe their teacher would say, oh, like so-and-so really connected to this story, because they have personal experience with that. So I think that's, again, that's just really rewarding to know that, I can share a story that makes this experience a little less taboo. It's pretty common. When I was researching for the book, I read a statistic that said like 1 in every 26 children has a parent in prison. And of course, not every one of those parents is going to be wrongfully convicted. Some of them, are guilty, some of them are not. But the whole point is there are a lot of children out there whose parents aren't home, who are, not going to be home for a very long time, or maybe they've never gotten to meet them. And I think you don't really see it represented too often in children's literature. I think there's, more and more books I think are coming out with these kind of storylines, but I think it's important to share different perspectives, different kind of family dynamics. I think that's like a big thing for me too when I'm writing stories. I do a lot of friendship themes, but I also do a lot of unconventional family dynamics, in my stories, because I feel like not everybody has that same mom, dad, sibling, family at home life that you see in TV shows and movies and things like that.
Yeah, and
And
the dog.
every kid has a voice. Every kid has a backstory, and they should
Exactly.
be able to see themselves reflected in the stories that they read.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So now what's your book that's coming out? You said
So
the
this one called Starting Now. This one is about a girl named Addie. This kind of, again, going back to what I just said, liking writing about unconventional family dynamics. So this one is about a girl who her mom has just gotten into a bad car accident and has to be in the hospital for a little while. So the only person who can take care of her for a little bit is her half older brother. So her older brother, who's in his 20s, she's 12, or she's 11, and he's going to be a temporary guardian. But they haven't really spent time together because he's never really been around. He was raised by his dad, so they were raised by different parents, but they share this mom. And when he comes to take care of her and be her temporary guardian, it's kind of like the first time they're really having this relationship with each other and getting to know each other and all the challenges of that. But then in the midst of all this, she's kind of curious as to why he hasn't been around, why it seems like he hasn't had a good relationship with their mom. She has no idea why. And so a lot of the story is also her trying to figure out the truth, like what caused their estrangement. So this book really touches upon some themes of family estrangements, how sometimes there are family members in your life that do not want to have anything to do with one another, and you might be a child stuck in the middle of that conflict. Maybe you wish you could see both family members together, but it's not possible because they're having that conflict. And so I definitely have some personal experience with this in my family, so it's just been a subject matter that's close to my heart. But at the same time, she's also dealing with two friends that decide they don't want to be friends with each other anymore. So she's kind of stuck in the middle of them. So it's a lot about how to navigate these complicated relationships around you, especially when you're stuck in the middle. And she's also on the swim team, so that adds some more fun to the story.
Okay. Well, it seems like your stories are well thought out in terms of um, the themes that you have, and also they're girl centered.
They are, yeah. I don't know. I feel like I've attempted to write a male protagonist. It doesn't feel like it comes naturally to me. I'm really grateful that there are so many other middle grade books featuring boys out there. I feel like let's just let them have it. Even Chrystal, I just saw her her interview earlier today. I read her books. She's fantastic at that. I'm like, it's just not me. I've always been kind of more of a girly person. So, but I do include side characters that are boys. So like in the Zoe book, her best friend is a boy named Trevor, and obviously in Starting Now, I just mentioned it's a very much a brother sister story. So her brother plays a big part. So I don't want it to seem like it's only for girls to be reading. It's definitely not. There's definitely themes and storylines that all kids can enjoy. And I've definitely had boys say that they've liked my book. So that's also, it's a misconception. Sometimes people do judge a book by its cover.
Your character just happens to be a girl. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Well, we all have things we gravitate toward.
Yeah, and that's fine. I totally get it.
And and you have a daughter. Didn't you say you have a daughter that's
I
11?
do, yeah.
11, and Chrystal has a son. So
I know. I think that's probably, I mean, who knows? She also could have just grown, I don't know if she has brothers or, had a lot of male figures in her life. She probably just has a lot more inspiration, but definitely having a kid, and our kids actually are the same age. So like, I can see how she probably also just got inspiration from her own kid, as she was writing.
yeah, well, she also mentioned that between she and her husband, they have 10, I think it was 10 nephews.
Oh, I missed
They
that.
only have a
Yeah.
couple of nieces.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like most of my cousins are girl. I wasn't really around a lot of men in my life, I guess.
There's a lot of girls in my family too, so I get it.
Yeah, there's like a couple of, like when I got married, my husband was like, "Where are all the men in your family?" And it's like, "Oh, okay, there's not that many of them."
Yeah, I had a girl. My sister had two girls. My brother he has a son and a daughter, but he lives far away, so uh, I don't get to see him or them very much. But yeah, lots of girls, and my sister and I would. There were four siblings because my brother passed, but um, the two girls were born first. So, there's something about some families just have girls or have boys,
Yeah.
and some families have twins. that's a genetic thing where some family lines there's twins in there. We don't have any twins, and the only twins in both sides of my family are I had an uncle who had 16 children
Oh, wow.
and one set of twins. And if you have that many births, you should get a break.
Yeah. That's a lot.
so so anyway, Janae, tell people, are you going to be doing any book signings coming up? Or do you have anything like that going on, any special events that you do?
Yeah, I'm hoping that when my next book comes out in the fall, I'll have some things scheduled. I live in Connecticut, not too far from New York, so sometimes I am able to pop in and do an event in New York. So yeah, I guess just keep your eyes peeled, I guess, for any announcements on my end. But yeah, I hope to be able to go to some more book signings or things to help promote this book and all my other ones in the fall.
Okay, and the way we became aware of you and Chrystal um, was no, not you and Chrystal. It was the people who were on the other show, but through Tamika Fryer Brown.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She let us know about her interview and how she was nominated and then ultimately won for her category. That was very exciting. I was really happy she put you on my radar because I wasn't aware of this show. So now I have lots of episodes I can go back and watch.
Well, that just means you have to come back now.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, no, this is really cool. I think it's great what you're all doing, spreading the love for Black authors. It's great.
Absolutely.
Well, and I'm glad that there are people writing for that middle grade audience. So they're not being left out. They're not being ignored. And so, because a lot of people are doing picture books.
Yeah, I think middle grade's a tough age group too, because kids that's when they start getting really distracted with technology and it's just you really got to grab them. It's like it's a tough age group to grab. So I think if you can manage to pull them in and make them want to be readers, then I think that's a great age to do it. So that's my hope, at least.
Yeah, there's a good balance. I have a client who wanted to reach that age group, but she still wanted it to have illustrations.
Yeah,
we have to have a good balance to it because we don't want to have so many illustrations to where they think the book is too young for them. But we don't want to have no illustrations, so because that might not capture their attention. So it's a good balance of how you put those illustrations in there.
Yeah, I think that's why middle grade graphic novels have been really popular, is because
they
don't feel babyish. Like they still have, they're like comics. So it's like they still have lots of illustrations, but it's still a sophisticated story for that age group. They don't feel like it's a baby book or anything. But they're also like some younger middle grade that includes like a few pictures throughout. None of mine have pictures, but so it's kind of, that's always the tough thing when they read and they open it up and they're like, oh, this whole thing's just words. But, hopefully kids will be okay with that in the long run.
It's a chapter book. So anyway, Janae, thank you so much for being a guest on the show, and congratulations again on all of your books and the one that you have coming out in the fall.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, have a great night. It was so good.
You too. Same here. All right, bye.
Bye-bye. So that's the end of our show. I do want to remind people of a few things. One, if you didn't get a chance to participate or watch live the award show that we had last week, go on our Facebook page and pull it up. It was very, very gratifying, very exciting. And that's always every year. It's an exciting time for us. Next week, we won't have a show because of the Memorial Day holiday. So we both get to be off and relax, and you all can be anticipating our June 2nd show, which that'll be the next show we have. So that's it for this week. And Rhonda, did you have anything to add before we go off the air?
Well, I always have something to say, but I just got off vacation and I can't remember. Oh, I know what I want to tell people. So I talk a lot about AI. So I will be doing an AI for Authors Masterclass with the Black Writers Workspace on May 27th. I believe this is absolutely free. I'll be posting the I'll be posting the link and everything tonight. It's already on Instagram, but I'll be posting it on my other platforms tonight. But please go ahead and sign up for this. I do not teach people how to use AI to write their book for them. I teach people how to use it as a powerful writing assistant. So you can use that and still tell your own story. So I want you guys to be a part of that. So make sure you look for that graphic, and I would love to see you in the class.
Okay, I might attend that one myself. So, I'm always looking to learn some new things. So I'm not going to be a doctor. I tell people that I will not be a doctor, but but I'm always learning. I'm always open to learning. So anyway, that's it for this week. We'll be back June 2nd for another amazing episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.